With threats to our nation waiting around every corner, adaptability is more important than ever. When conditions change without notice, quick strategic thinking is crucial. And with obstacles consistently impending, determination is essential in overcoming them. It's this willingness, decisiveness, and resilience that sets Marines apart. With our fighting spirit, we don't just fight battles, we win them. Marines are the constant our nation counts on to fight the unknown. And through adaptable problem solving, we do just that. Learn more at marines.com.
The following is a high-five moment from highfivecasino.com.
I won! Yahoo! Private, put down your phone. This is the Army.
Sarge, High Five Casino is a social casino. It's on your phone. Goes wherever you go. I win free spins, cash, prizes, free daily rewards, over 1,200 games. I won again.
Platoon, present cell phone. High Five.
High Five.
Casino.
Casino.
Win at highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino is a social casino. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Play responsibly. Conditions apply. See website for details.
High Five Casino. High Five Casino.
High Five Casino is a social casino with real prizes and big Vegas hits at highfivecasino.com. The hottest games right from Vegas, and all winnings go straight to your bank account. Hundreds of exclusive games, free daily rewards, and come back to get free coins every 4 hours. Only at highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino is a social casino. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details at high5casino.com.
High Five Casino.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome along to a special episode of the Scottish Football Show. It is the only show in town that anybody cares about. Forget about the Oscars, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, the PFA, Football Writers Association's Players of the Year. This is the award show that they all want. These are the awards they all want, and tonight, with me to dole out the awards and to make sure that they keep everybody's wives out of their mouths, I have Kerr.
All right, Connor.
Lewis, how are we?
It's happening, big man. I am not bad. Glad to be back on the old Scottish Football Show. It's been a while.
Yes, certainly has. Good to have you back. And making his return to the Scottish Football Show for the first time since a couple of months ago, we have Robert. Robert, great to have you back. How are we?
Listen, great. It's like been invited back to your old house, and they've done it up with the new intro there and the new signage and all that. So looking good. Looking forward to a good day with you guys. I've missed you.
Happy days, happy days. Right. So before we get started, a couple of things. First of all, when it comes to the awards, some ground rules for us all to chew over. First and foremost, for the benefit of those in the chat, the guys have been instructed that they can only pick a player once for these awards. So if, for example, someone has picked Lawrence Shankland as their striker of the season, then they can't have that person as their player of the season pick. You will also see in the comments section that there is a poll that is up because when it comes to the player of the season, you guys are going to be the ones who will ultimately decide on that. It wouldn't have been possible to do it for all the categories because we literally would have been here to next Sunday changing the polls, but the main one, the big one, will be decided by you guys. And to start us off on that foot, I'm going to let the guys make their cases for their picks for Player of the Year. You'll see the names, but you won't know the reasons why. So, Kerr, we will start with your Player of the Year nomination.
It was Matt O'Reilly. I just think he's probably head and shoulders the best
midfielder in Scotland, and he was one of the main reasons Celtic won the league, in my opinion. I know you get folk can look at Vickers coming back, the striker, the boy, the sign of the striker, coming in and stuff like that, but I think Matt Riley had Tati coming back for injury, but I think Matt Riley was probably the best player over the season. I think on his game, he's the best player in Scotland, so I went for Matt Riley.
A solid pick there. Lewis, your nomination for the Player of the Year?
Well, I went the easy route, and I went for Mr. Lawrence Shankland. 40 goals and assists in 47 games. I think he's just outside the top 10 best goal scoring strikers across Europe this year. He's scoring a goal every 133 minutes, every 1.2 games roughly. Massive part of why Hearts have finished so comfortably in third place. Just outstanding. And I know we'll go on it as the Euro starts to come up, but if he does not start up front for Scotland, I think there's some serious issues going on, because I think he's by far cemented now the best that we've got up there.
Yeah, well, listen, it's hard to argue with that, and certainly I think Lawrence Shankland probably the early bookies' favourite for the Player of the Season. Robert, can you top Lawrence Shankland?
Listen, Lewis there playing at the crowd, trying to get Wolf off his seat. Listen, I went for Luke McCowan. I just think, and listen, the other two guys have went for maybe obvious picks, and I just think McCowan's been sort of had a meteoric, he's a say rise this season. 10 goals, I think, in the league. Instrumental to everything that Dundee have done good. And I just think he was being pivotal to them getting that top six spot. I think it'll be hard to keep a hold of him this season. Next season, I don't know what season we're in now. We're in that sort of wee spot. So no, I do think that he's been exceptional. Maybe not as the two other guys that they mentioned, but I think he's certainly worth a mentioning in dispatches.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, the poll is there in the chat at the moment. I can see here that the early leader, edging it in the early votes, is Lawrence Shankland, currently sitting at 54%, with Matt O'Reilly ringing up the rear at 42% of the vote. So it is a tight one to call. And at the end of the show, once all the votes have been counted and verified, we will obviously reveal our picks. The AVP, I think Robert's lawyers might be in touch with you at some point soon, mate. Welcome back.
Borussia Mönchengladbach's full named me, so hopefully he's not got my address or I'm in trouble. There you are.
There is the welcome back. I bet you missed that. Right. So just to clarify as well, because I don't think I did. Whilst you guys in the chat will pick the Player of the Season, I have the task that Robert had in our half-season awards. I am the adjudicator this evening, meaning I personally don't have any picks in this. I am here to listen to the guys' picks, and then I will make a decision, because I am obviously the oracle of Scottish football and knowledge at the end of it. So, having got the Player of the Season nominees in nice and early, Kerr, we will start with we'll start back to front in the pitch. We'll start with your nomination for the best goalkeeper.
Goes with Jack Butland, I'm afraid. I think Jack's been our best signing this season. I think he's kept us in a lot of games, winning us a lot of extra points. Granted, there's a few sticky games near the end of the season, but it wasn't the only one. But I think Butland's come in to Rangers in the first season. He's been superb, and he's the best goalkeeper in Scotland, in my opinion. So that's how I went for Jack Butland.
Yeah, listen. I have no issue with that pick. Although I would ask this question of you, Kerr. Do you think that, with the criticism levelled at him recently, that he's made a couple of sort of major errors, or he's maybe not had the greatest of games when it's came to the big games. Does that take any of the shine off for you?
No, because I remember Andy Gorham signing for Rangers and meeting errors at the start, and people were saying, why do we sign Andy Gorham? Chris Woods was the same. So I remember back there, so I think Jack's come in. Obviously, he's a big gloves to fill in Alan McGregor, but McGregor's last season, he was quite poor, probably played a season two more. I think Jack's come in for not playing a lot of football, Connor, over the last few seasons to suddenly being at a club at Rangers. Granted, it's not an English Premiership, but he's playing under pressure because he has to win every game. A draw's not good enough, I should really criticise, and he can be standing in the middle, he can stand in a game for 90 minutes doing nothing, and then he gets one or two shots he has to save, and that's the way it has to be as a Rangers keeper. And he's done it well. He has made a few errors, but like you said, keepers get remembered for the mistakes, don't get remembered for the saves they make. And to me, he's still the best goalkeeper in Scotland, and he's just been unlucky at times. But I hope he stays myself, but I don't think he will if he get a decent offer. But I do hope he stays, because I think he's a massive part he has going forward.
I mean, it's a solid argument that Kerr makes there, Lewis, for Super Jack Butland. Who is your pick for the goalkeeper over the season?
Well, we'll come to no surprise. I'm hoping that this is a clean sweep, but I've also went for the Rangers goalkeeper. You always trust me to work the stats out. You know, I think the statistics of Jack Butland this year, just across Europe, is very, very impressive. You know, 58 games played, only 53 goals conceded, and just under half of them kept a clean sheet. And you consider the poorest, some of the poorest form we've ever seen Rangers in defensively in the last 4 or 5 seasons, for him to have statistics like that. And he ranks second for save percentage in Europe this season. There's only one goalkeeper across the top 15 leagues that's got a better save percentage, and he ranks third for clean sheets across Europe as well. So you can only imagine, imagine Jack Butland was there in, the 55 season. He probably would have had, similar or arguably a even better season than Alan McGregor did. And he's a very, very top level goalkeeper. And like Kerr says, I think we will be severely lucky to hold on to a guy of this quality. But even if we do let him go, he's on a big contract, and he'll bring us in a big transfer fee as well. So either way, I think Rangers will be happy with whatever deal comes Jack Butland's way.
Yeah, I mean, Robert, it seems fairly unanimous at this stage. So are you going to attempt to throw a wee spanner in the works, or are we getting a clean sweep?
Oh, it's a full house. Aye, bingo. Jack Butland. I can't really add anything further, because I wrote down all these stats that he's just rattled out. I should have known better coming on with him. I was kind of hoping you'd come to me before you went to him, but I could have put a spanner in his works. But no. Listen, just the only thing I'd add would I think he's really, really unlucky not to beat the Euros. I think you look at the goalies that England have got in that squad, and I don't think there's a man better than Jack Butland in it. So I would get an honourable mention to Dimitar Mitov. I think he's been largely impressive at the wrong end of the table, albeit, and I think Joe Hart as well. I know that will probably be unpopular in the comments, but I think Celtic will see a difference next season trying to replace him, because I think he's been quite magnificent this season for them in big games. So, but yeah, Jack Butland, 3 out of 3.
Yeah, well, listen, I think pretty much that settles it, that Jack Butland will be receiving the award. However, what I will do, because Ian, who obviously isn't on the show this evening, but he has thrown in a list of his own into the chat. And, I feel it only fair that, seeing as how I can't contribute, I can certainly put forward his names and see what you think. So, Ian has gone different for the best goalkeeper care. Ian has went for Dimitar Mitov. Do you think that's a fair shout? Is that a strong case he's got there?
Absolutely. He's caught the eye, not just of ourselves. A lot of the media in Scotland and the pundits have picked him out throughout the season. So they would have gone down without him. I think they would have, especially early on when they didn't have a goal scorer. He was keeping them in games. Will he get a bigger move to a Celtic? I don't see it. Aberdeen, I think they'll be looking for a goalkeeper. That might be an option, but I don't see him making that big step. I think Celtic had their fingers bumped with the whole Siegrist thing. But no, he's been very, very good, and I think Ian makes a sterling choice there.
He does make a sterling choice there. However, it absolutely has to go to Jack Butland. It's 3 against 1, I'm afraid. So, yes, Jack Butland is officially the goalkeeper of the season for the Scottish Football Show. Davy P, I mean, you do genuinely need to change that profile picture, mate, because it is quite off-putting. Why can't I contribute? Well, because I'm...
Hold on a minute. I've just seen what that is. I couldn't fathom that. That is, where's that came from? Is that now? That's not even now, is it? He's got that. He's kept that for a previous pod by the looks of it, because I'm not wearing that colour blue at the minute.
Have you
hard driving, he's checking fully.
Have you checked your bathroom for hidden cameras? Because that looks like you're doing a tricky number 2, if I'm being honest with you. Yes, Davey P, to answer your question, the reason I can't contribute is because I'm the one making the decision ultimately. So if I just put names in, it would be slightly unfair because there's a good chance that I would just pick all my own picks. So in order to be fair, I'm taking myself out of it and letting the guys do it. What I will say is I did contribute to the player of the season poll because I'm not deciding that. You guys are. So that will answer your question, Davey. Righty-ho. Lewis, we will start with you for this one. We are going now to the best defender of the season.
Do you know, I actually think all the awards, I think this was the most difficult. It's slim pickings. You know, you think Lewis Mail deserves a mention here. He's had a really, really solid, proper breakout season in the SPL. I think he's shown that he's, levels to play in the top division in Scotland. A few blunders in there in his game, and Owen Beck was outstanding the first half of the campaign. And then, of course, you need to mention the captain because, despite his overall general play maybe not being up to standard, the numbers are, you can't really ignore them. But for me, I've actually went for Liam Scales. I think it's quite understated how important he's been for Celtic this season because, they were struggling big time at the first half of the season where every single defender in their side just could not put one right foot forward. It was just not happening for him. And he came in, after so much being against him, right for the off, put in a few man of the match performances in the Champions League and he's been quite solid ever since. Maybe dipped off a wee bit in the second half of the campaign. But like I said, it is slim pickings, so I think Liam Scales probably just about edges the defender of the year for me.
Do you think, Lewis, on Liam Scales, do you think that Cameron Carter-Vickers coming back into the Celtic defence, for you, is that maybe slightly overshadowed him in the latter part of the season? Because as you say, it has seemed to be a bit quieter for him in the sort of second, well, maybe the third quarter, if you will, of the season.
I think so. I certainly that's a fair point. I mean, the first half of the season he definitely shone a bit more because there wasn't much to compare him with, and Carter Vickers, and I think we can all agree he's by far the best centre back in this league. Probably doubly so, better than anybody else at this moment in time, and he did come in and he kind of saved the season a wee bit for Celtic. You think it was Motherwell, they were 2-0 down. Carter Vickers comes on, even though he doesn't contribute offensively, they're just so much more solid with him there, and Liam Scales maybe just fades a wee bit back into obscurity. But again, the first half of the season can't be understated because I think he's somebody you rarely ever really see make a mistake, and he's not the most physical guy in the world either. So I think he's had a really good season.
I mean, solid arguments there, Robert. Who gets your vote for the defender of the season?
Well, listen, much like Lewis, the fact that he's picking Celtic players after that's probably been their most troublesome position this season in terms of centre halves. They brought in two that were absolutely honking, couldn't get anywhere near it, and Liam Scales was kind of kept as a second option, see if they could get in Nelson, and he's ended up being a first pick. So it tells you, that the quality of centre backs we've had in the league this year. But I've went for Lewis Mail, who Lewis mentioned. I think again, he's been a bit of a stalwart. I think he's played over 4,000 minutes in the league this season, and he's been a real sort of player that sort of grew again, and much like the McCowan-esque in the sense that he's had another rise, took the jump to Kilmarnock on a permanent basis, and he seemed to have ran with it. So I think, again, unlucky not to be called up by Scotland. You know, we get somebody like Liam Cooper in there, who I think, you know, would it not be better to take somebody like Lewis Mayo? And even if you're not going to play him, it's a bit of experience. It's somebody for the future. We've tried the sort of Liam Coopers of this world, but Lewis Mayo for me, I think he'll go on as well. I think Stuart Finley's been sort of sent back to his parent club, so could be even more of a responsibility for Lewis Mayo going into the new campaign.
I mean, yeah, I think again, it's a solid case you put forward, I've got to say. I suppose the only thing I would maybe push back at you is that if you were, you know, looking at it, there are, you know, is there still things for, you know, room for improvement for him? Because he's had a couple of moments in the season that he's made, you know, he has made a few wee mistakes here and there. Certainly still a young player, and I think if we're talking young defender of the year, I think all day long. But you know, just to throw it back to you know that, you know, does that impact it for you, or is that just part of the package?
I don't know how much is in it between him and Liam Scales in terms of age. Listen, it'll be another situation if he's 23 till he's 24, won't it, Lewis? But I just think that he's probably under a bit more pressure than a Liam Scales for game to game. Certainly, Kilmarnock will probably have to do a lot more defending than Celtic will. But when your manager's, you know, coming out and touting you for the national team and saying you're going to go into bigger, better things, you know, it's no often that Derek McInnes will come out and sing all his players for praise. So, no, I think he's a solid choice. And you know, as I say, I think the Celtic issue is that they've had problems at centre back, and it had to be someone this season. Carter Vick has always had a really bad injury, so someone had to step up. And yeah, Scales has done that admirably, but will he be the first choice next season? I don't think so.
Absolutely. And Paul McCorrickle coming in here with suggestions for another category. Presenter of the season. Well, I mean, listen, Paul, that would be a boring man, because I think we know that would be.
It's no Johnny Sutherland, that's for sure.
No. Well, absolutely not. No. I think the problem is, Paul, that in Scottish football, you'd struggle to find any presenter that you would vote for. Maybe apart from Emma Dodds. I do like Emma. Here, you've heard the
big man's froze.
On awards night as well, I think based off, listen, he was going to ask you for your pick, so you may as well just run with it.
I'm going to go for Alec Gogic on St Mirren. I think St Mirren's had a great season. They've got their budget's one of the smallest in the league. They finished 5th. They've gone to Europe. I think Gogic has played. He's the only outfield player in the SPL to play every league game. There's been 5 players, and he's the only outfield player for the keepers. I think that tells you a lot about him, and I think he's performed very consistently for St Mirren. That's why he's been awarded a new contract. And I think you can see what he offers. He might not be the best player technically, but he gives 100%. And I've partly seen it against us, where they cleared off the line, chasing it back. He just offers what St Mirren are. They dig in, they fight, and that's why they had a very good season. So I think Alec Gogic to me, has provided St Mirren fans with a lot of entertainment this season. The way he plays, a lot of fight on the park, keeps the team together. And you see what you get with him. You see it on the tin, as I say. So I'll go for Alec Gogic. I think he's been a great signing for St Mirren.
Kev, do you think as well, like, it's quite telling that you've given him a new contract? No, it's not a 1-year contract. I think it's a 3-year they've given him.
A 3-year contract.
Incredible for a guy his age.
Yeah, and I think you see, let's see, when he was at Hibs and one of the best times, he was in and out of the side. He's went to St Mirren, and it might have been a backward step, but they finished above Hibs in the league. He's playing in Europe next season, albeit in the qualifying stages, but he's been offered a new 3-year deal, which he's happily signed. So fair play to him. And like I said, he's not missed a game. He's only feel going to miss an SPL game this season. So I'll go for Alec Gogic.
I mean, listen, Gogic again is another great shout. Wolf, our regular and favourite Hearts fan on this podcast, repping for his side, quite rightly so, giving Frankie Kent a shout out there. Any merit in that for you, Robert? Does he come close to the top of the pile?
Listen, I would say that he's certainly been mentioned a few times throughout the campaign from other quarters. He seemed to have brought something to the Hearts defence, but I don't know if he stood out that much for me per se. But Wolf's been shouting about him for the last 10 minutes, so it's only right that you pull up that comment. I dare say that Wolf's wife's going to be rolling about raging that you've just said that this boy's the favourite Hearts fan on the podcast. That's not going to get down well.
I said on this show, as far as I'm aware, Will's wife doesn't watch this show. If she does, Mrs. Wilf, I apologise. But yes, okay. So Ian has given us Cameron Carter-Vickers for his pick. I mean, Lewis, I see you shaking your head there. Is it a case of he's just not been involved enough this season? Because you can't deny he certainly has had an impact in terms of when he's came back into the team for his injury. Celtic are a much more solid looking defensive unit, but has he played enough to justify a mention in this particular category?
No, I think that's exactly why. He's certainly just not played enough. Just because you're the best player in the league doesn't necessarily justify having performed the best in the season. It's similar over in the EPL. Kevin De Bruyne is probably the best player in the Premier Division, but he would be absolutely nowhere near it this season because he's hardly played. I think impact, even the second half of the season, Cameron Carter-Vickers maybe deserves a shout for, second half of the season player of the year, but he's just not played enough for me.
No, I think I would agree with you. This is a tough one, this, because they are three real solid shouts. I think I'm going to be Lewis in this one. I think Liam Scales just edges it. I think for me,
he's ginger in it.
I mean, no, I think for me, Liam Scales.
I'm not talking about Lucy, I'm talking about Liam Scales.
Well, I mean, repping for the Gingers, I suppose. No, I think personally, I think you look at Scales. I think his reputation after this season has certainly been upped. I think when he first joined Celtic and then went on loan to Aberdeen, he done solid work at Aberdeen, but I don't think he was ever viewed as a number one pick for Celtic. And okay, he's had to come in because of other injury problems, but he's, for me, I agree with everything that Lewis said. I think he's more than slotted into the role, and he's made himself a sure starter for them, and I think he deserves all the credit in the world for that. So on that basis, and on the fact that whilst Cameron Carter-Vickers is a better all-round defender, he's not played enough this season. So yeah, Liam Scales, it is for the...
Can I just come back at you, Con, and just say, like, it is, I agree with what you have said, and but it's more born out of circumstance rather than, his own destiny. He was never sort of destined to be the Celtic centre back this season. And is he going to be Carter-Vickers' partner next season? I don't think so. I think that's an area that Celtic will be going out to looking to strengthen. I think they've been linked with a guy at Queen's Park Rangers for £7 million. So albeit you've given him the award, fantastic, but I just don't think he's going to be, getting 30, 40 games next season. I don't see it at all.
Yeah, listen, you could be absolutely right. The only thing I would say is that this is, the awards for this season. We're no fortune telling the future here. So,
this is my ball. This is how we're going to play.
I agree with you, Robert.
He's not really a belt today.
Oh dear.
No, you're quite spot on. I'll sit back then.
Nice to see you finally change that profile pic, David. Yes, so Scales it is, who is the defender of the season. Right. I'm going to shake it up slightly and wedge this in between the players that we're picking in the areas of the park, and I'm going to go with the biggest underachievers of the season. Now, that already off the top of my head, I can think of a few that I would certainly throw up there. But Robert, you've not started one yet, so we'll start with you. Who is your biggest underachievers of the season and why?
As you say, you could have put like a list of names on a dartboard and just threw a dart at it because there was that many. But I've actually gone for it, and I'm sorry in advance, David Martindale. I just think that he's been how can I put this? All the good work he's ever done is always, built up. We always go on about budgets and recruitment, etc. But I just think this season he's fell short. He's tried things that have not worked out for him, i.e. bringing in Brian Rice, which I thought was a strange one. Nothing really changed there. Recruitment's been absolutely dreadful. The players that were great for him last year have probably let him down slightly. You look at likes of Nubley. I don't know I don't think he even scored a goal this season. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I just think David Martindale. You look at since he took over. I think he get half season in his first season finished 6th, following season finished 7th, then finished 8th. It's been a gradual decline under Martindale, and again for all the good work that he's done and the stuff he does done off the pitch and run the football club from top to bottom, brilliant. I see he's committed his future for next season, and they've done some astonishing recruitment already. I think they've brought in 8 or 9 players to date, and we're only into the sort of second week of the off season. So yeah, I agree it's an award for this season. So I would say that Martindale's been a massive underachiever. I think he'd agree. I think he'd be really disappointed. Seeing Dundee come up and seeing what they've done. You look how poor St Johnstone have been. Really, really poor. I think Ross County got a bit of mouth to mouth when Don Kirby came in and he seemed to rejuvenate them. I just think Martindale couldn't do it. He just couldn't get them going. So I would say David Martindale has been the biggest underachiever so far this season.
So I agree with every point you've made. Absolutely spot on.
Stop agreeing with me. I want you to disagree with me. Come on.
But, well, you need to let me finish the sentence. There's always a but. But I would maybe throw back at you and say, given the circumstances of the budgets, the restrictions, limitations of bringing in players that David Martindale has been banging on about for a long time, and the fact that he himself, I think, had said that they were going to be well in that relegation scrap. Is it really an underachievement for Livy to be relegated when I think a lot of people aren't that surprised that they did get relegated in the end? I know they've been scrappy in the last couple of seasons and they've stayed up, and they've certainly, exceeded expectations in some areas. You'd have to say. I'm just wondering whether going down this season with all the circumstances behind them is an underachievement or if it's just what was expected.
Listen, I would come back here and say, you can go on about budgets and recruitment, etc. But, a manager's first job is to get the best at the players that he's got. If you listen to Martindale, start of last season, he was talking about how Nubley was worth £1 million. He's got £1 million player in his squad straight away. I think I didn't like the way he was speaking early on in the season. He was coming up with a lot of sort of, if you were a player in that squad, I don't think it'd have been motivating me. He wasn't saying really positive things about the group of players that he had. So it was a strange tactic from him, I have to say, from where he's usually been quite bubbly, quite outgoing. And I just think he was really defeatist this season. And I think it got to him. And I'm shocked that he's taken stock and stayed on. I think, there was talk, St Johnstone job and other jobs were coming up and he was getting linked to them, but nobody was really coming for him. So where does he really go from Livingston? What more can he do? As we've mentioned, 6th, 7th, 8th. Does he take them down, bring them back up and push for a top 6? I don't really know what the plan is there. But as I say, you can talk about budgets, you can talk about recruitment, but a manager needs to get the best at the players that he's got. And I don't think he's done that at all this year.
No, I think that's probably right. But then just a last quick question, because it came to me when you were speaking there on Martindale. Why is it you think Livingston didn't pull the plug and sack him and try and go another direction? Because as you say, he had quite a defeatist tone for most of the season. It was clear it was not going in the right direction. And as much as, I think we all like David Martindale on here because unlike a lot of managers, he's refreshingly honest, particularly after games. And I just like that about the man. But why? I get he's obviously got the sentimental feelings with Livingston, but is it an underachievement in the part of the board that they didn't at least try and change it and to stay up?
Well, clearly they had new owners come in, didn't they? I don't know if that was sort of midway through the season or early on in the early stages of the season, but it's respect. I think it's just respect. He's, as you say, he runs the club from top to bottom. He's heavily involved in everything that goes on there. He's obviously got tight control of the budget as well. They're probably just thinking better the devil you know, because you looked at what happened with Ross County. They pulled the trigger and it seemed to get them into worse trouble than they were in before. So it doesn't always work, but certainly I think he's in charge of his destiny there, if you like. He's going to say when he goes, I don't think the board are going to fire him.
No, I think you're probably right there. Okay. Care. Robert has made an impassioned case for his nomination there. Who have you got as your biggest underachievers of the season?
Aberdeen Football Club. It's simple. They're a shit show. And they shouldn't be because they've got a good wage, they've got good players up there. But they didn't really seem to know what was going on behind the scenes. They tried different ways. Since McInnes get his sack, it's really worked. He left, which I'm not sure how he left there, but I thought maybe Derek took him as far as he could, but since he's left there, it's been a rapid decline, and the managers have done since, and I know they're going a different way in the summer, but with the money they've put in, the players they've got, they have to be better than what they are. They've been absolutely awful, and I just say Aberdeen Football Club in general, I think they've been very poor. Not just this season, but I think they've been poor.
Yeah, listen, it's hard to disagree with that. I mean, they finish in that bottom six. Ultimately, where were they? Was it 7th or 8th? I think they finished. Obviously, nowhere near good enough for them. I mean, they might argue that points-wise, they actually did have more points than Dundee, but that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I suppose, Kerr, what would you say you would put that down in the main for them then? Because, last season, obviously, the Stephen Glass experiment and things like that, it didn't work. They then made the decision, obviously, to bring in Barry Robson, and that seemed to steady the ship. But then, other than admirable performances in the Conference League, it never ever seemed to click for Barry Robson domestically. It took him a long time to get a win under his belt. And then it was that sort of stop. You had a couple of times where it was false dawns. You thought, maybe they're going to do something here. And they just didn't follow up. So has it been consistency? Is it changing the manager too often? Because the Warnock thing was bizarre. That was like a fever dream we all had. And, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even sure that really happened. But do you think that sort of all came together in the sort of the perfect storm, if you will, for Aberdeen?
I think it has. You hear Aberdeen fans as well, and I'm not happy with what's going on there. It's not just been this season. So I don't know, because they do invest a lot of money. They've got players up there you would take, especially Miovski, you would take him in a second. So they've got players there who are worth a bit of money, and you look at them and you think they've got a decent squad of players. Their budget's very high. They've been through a few managers right enough, which isn't great. Barry Robson, they flat up to deceive at times. They always seem to do well in the cup competitions, so they do, but in the league, they're not just consistent enough. I know you can turn in and say they always play well against us, but is that an issue for us as well, not just them? But every other team are going up there and winning very easily. So they were, I just think there's something missing. I don't know if it's the players, is it managers, is it to the boardroom. I just think it's a combination of things. And Aberdeen as a football club, when I grew up, Aberdeen under Alec Ferguson were always challenging for stuff, and they were always, well, no one in the league, they were second, third, but they were always near the top. And they get good crowds, like I say, they got a big budget. I don't know what's happened to them. Under Derek McInnes, they were decent. I know we won in the league for a few years, but they were decent under Derek, and then I just feel since he's left there, and you see what Derek's done since he's went to Kilmarnock, he's more mature, he's doing really well with them, and Aberdeen shouldn't let him go, but sometimes things have to come to an end because it just peters out. But no, Aberdeen should be doing a lot better than they have been, Connor. Because I'm an Aberdeen fan, I wish they weren't even in the league, I wish they get relegated, I wish Aberdeen better. But if I was, I wouldn't be happy with the club's run because they should be doing a lot better than they are, and to me, they should be challenging for at least third position in that league every season.
Yeah, I mean, strong cases here for Robert and Kerr, Lewis, and you've obviously been patiently waiting. So wait no longer. Who are you giving the biggest underachievers to?
Well, to be honest, I completely forgot that Aberdeen existed for this entire thing. Or else I probably would have went for Aberdeen because I can't say they've written. I am not going to win any fans, certainly on this YouTube channel, but I've actually went for Rangers Football Club as the biggest underachievers. I mean, you look at before the second leg in Benfica, the prospect of their season was reaching the latter stages of the Europa League. We were very unlucky to not win the first time in history, I think, in the Europa League away in Portugal. And Conor Goulson, that was his career there and then. That own goal was just symptomatic of him over the last 2 years. And from that point, it looked as if latter stages of Europa League, we were really putting some steam ahead towards the league. We were looking to win a Scottish Cup. We were looking to win a treble, and we've ended up winning the absolute bare minimum in the League Cup. And in that League Cup, we didn't even need to face Celtic, and to go through an entire season with only drawing against Celtic once and losing the rest of the games it's absolutely unacceptable. And I will put that towards Celtic being probably the worst Celtic team that I've seen other than the 55 season. The very, very poor side, very, very poor Celtic side, who struggled against much worse teams than us. The likes of Kilmarnock, look at their record against Celtic this year, and we just could not lay a glove on them. And I think, like I said, from the point just before the second leg in Benfica, what our season looked to become and what it's ended up being, I think is the biggest underachievement I've seen this season. We really should have left this season with at least 2 trophies as a minimum, never mind securing the treble.
I mean, listen, it is hard to dispute much of anything of what you've said, really. Which it does pain me to say. I mean, it's interesting you brought up Rangers because Davy P had come in with an interesting shout actually, and saying that Michael Beale was the biggest underachiever now. I mean, that's certainly a fair shout there. I mean, I suppose. If you look at it, Lewis, and you take it, really, our season it has been in 2 halves, if you will, because you're right. In the summer last year, there was an excitement. That genuinely looked as if we were in the midst of this rebuild. Michael Beale had been backed financially. He'd brought in players that we were told he had been scouting for years, and up to that point, there was a belief that Michael Beale knew what he was doing. When it comes to scouting players, and obviously we know what happened after that. But I guess after the point Beale leaves, Clermont have clawed us back into a position where we were with 6 weeks left to go of the season in line to potentially win a treble. That, I think you could argue Clermont slightly overachieved to still be in it at that point with that same squad of players that Michael Beale couldn't get a tune out of.
No, I think that's a more than fair point. I would say it's probably more like 3 halves. You obviously can't get 3 halves, but you know what I mean. Three parts of the season. You've got the Michael thirds is what I'm looking for. Obviously, I didn't do too well in maths at school, you can tell, but. The first third of the season, Michael Beale was what you said. I think the middle is probably where I would take my argument from. It's the fact that a lot of media, fans, everybody was saying that this is Rangers. Rangers are now the clear favourites to go on and win this treble. And from that point onwards, I would say that the underachieving started, because you're right. What Clermont done to even get us back to that position is it needs to be credit where credit is due. But I would just argue from the point of us sitting looking likely to go on and win a treble as well, that underachieving started.
I come on here to be lifted, spirits lifted, 42 minutes in and I'm dejected. Absolutely dejected. Oh, we took 3 minutes.
Listen, I mean, this is a hard choice, I must say, because I mean you've Ian had on his picks, he had Aberdeen as well, so he was in agreement with Kerr. And I must admit that my initial thoughts were also on Aberdeen. I thought shoot it in for that one, but I mean some solid points there on the Rangers thing. It's given me a bit of an headache. No offence, Robert, but I think the others are just slightly stronger picks for underachievement. Toss a coin really. I think I'm going to give it to Aberdeen. Only on the basis that I think a club that is, the size of Aberdeen in terms of Scottish football and, a fan base that believes they are where, believes they should be where sort of Hearts are, that they're the third biggest team in the country. I think for them to follow up what was a rescue job last season to get third by finishing seventh and nowhere near European football this season is thoroughly disappointing. Albeit I will give them immense credit for the effort they put in the Scottish Cup semi-final. I thought that's probably their performance of the season, that if I'm being honest, but not enough for me to save them. So yes, I think the biggest underachievers of the season are Aberdeen. I do want to throw in some honourable mentions as well, because I am surprised that the Hibs weren't mentioned by anybody, and even Motherwell, because I remember at the start of the season we had conversations, Robert, where we were ranting and raving about Motherwell and Stuart Ketwell and how well they were doing, and then they slightly fell off a cliff edge a bit in the sort of the middle part of the season, and then they did stable out a bit towards then, but too little too late for that top six berth.
Listen, they had no problem scoring goals. It was keeping balls out the net at the other end. It was their undoing, really. So Stuart Kettle will just go again. I don't think he's under any real pressure. The season he was safe. So he'll get a bit of recruitment in the summer and go again and try and aim for that top six.
Yeah, absolutely. Rangers 55 coming in here. He gave Hibs an odd, fair play. And Wolf agreeing with the pick of Aberdeen. So there we are. Right, moving on to happier categories now. That's the only sort of negative category. The rest are happier categories. So we'll move on back on the park to the positions, and we'll go for the best midfielder. Kerr, who have you gone for, and why?
I'm going for Lennon Miller, 17-year-old. Quinty Motherwell set up, didn't look out of place when he was missing for injury. You can see they were badly missing him, and he came back in and helped in this stable again. I just think the boys get so much talent. I think he will get his move one day, and I think he'll go on to bigger and better things. And that's he's only 17, and he's lucky to be at a club like that, because I think if he's at other clubs, he might not have been given the chance. But the boy's good enough. So, and I think for what he's done since he's come in, like I say, when he got injured, you can see Motherwell miss him. And for somebody at 17, that's a lot to ask for, especially at a club like that. So I think I'm going for Lennon Miller.
I mean, great shout. I've got to say, I think he's certainly impressed me. I thought his performance, in particular against Celtic, was a real standout. I mean, for a young lad like that to leave Callum McGregor chasing shadows the way he did in that game, it for me was just showed the composure in him. But to maybe slightly push back on it, Kerr, he had obviously he's been important for Motherwell, but at such a young age, he's obviously, I'm not sure he's necessarily the most important player for them this season. I think he's still in that developmental stage, but I don't know. Does that play any factor in it that he's still at that young stage? Maybe a year from now, if Motherwell themselves have performed better and he's been able to help that is it a better case then?
I just think he is still young. He's still got a lot to learn in the game. He's going to mature, but he plays without fear. You just said it yourself, and he's very composed for a young kid. And I just think he's got a lot in his locker, which he's going to improve on. And it's just when Motherwell were missing him, you've seen how the results went. I mean, he came back into the team that kind of stabilised. So I think that offers a lot, and I also think you have to give Stuart Kettlewell credit for giving him a game. Listen, we all want to see young guys doing well in Scotland, but then they get but they always get the thing in the back saying, but are they consistent? Will it last? They need to miss games in case they get burnt out. See if you're good enough, doesn't matter what age you're, give you some game time, and that's what I find me applaud Kettlewell for, and I applaud Lennon Miller for, because they came in, didn't look out of place, and to me, that was super for a young guy. So, and I had to pick somebody, so I went for Lennon Miller because I actually think
he got an injury as well, didn't he? He got an injury through the season, so he missed a few games. I think if he'd been in the whole season, he'd have been a shoe in probably for young player of the year. I think just that time.
Paul says he's on the park. He's looking for the ball. He's not hiding. He's wanting the ball. He wants to show. He's not scared of taking it in tight situations in the park. He's not scared of making a pass and taking a risky pass. And listen, I don't like guys come through Rangers in this, but we don't seem to be getting the chance. But teams like that can, and I love to see my Ibrox, but only feel if he signed them, would they get a game if they shoved into academy and not be seen again? That's my fear.
I mean, yeah, I think a real solid case made there, I must admit. Lewis, coming to you, your nomination for the midfielder of the season.
Well, again, I've just went the easy route. I think Matt Riley is going to be so difficult to argue against. 37 goal involvements in 49 games from midfield. It's incredible. It's actually a bit unheard of, even in Scotland. It's a bit an easier level of football down here. You don't often hear a midfielders hitting numbers like that. And I think, the Atletico Madrid links were more than justified. Like, honestly, I could have seen Matt Riley going down and slotting into that Atletico Madrid team sooner rather than later. I genuinely think he's that talented. He's a lovely footballer. He's one of the players from them that you're very envious that unfortunately plays for the wrong side of Glasgow, because he's just a beautiful footballer to watch. There's very little he doesn't have. Last season you would have said he has everything except goal scoring, and he's just went and had 19 goals. So he's absolutely complete. He's like 6'3". He's got good feet. He's a left footer. His passing range is unbelievable. And again, he's just added goals. And I really hope that he is not at Celtic, and I will be gobsmacked if he stays at Parkhead at the end of the summer, because I think he's destined for bigger and better things. And although he's a Danish international, he is an Englishman, for the youth ranks, so that will mark up his interest quite a bit. And I think he'll go on to do very, very good things in football if he picks the right club.
I mean, yeah, listen, it's hard to argue with that, and of course it's why he is one of the candidates for the overall player of the year as well, because it's hard to deny the contributions that he has brought. But I suppose to ask you though, obviously you alluded to the fact he's a Danish international, but he's been left out of their Euros squad. What would you put that down to?
Well, I seen that a wee news snippet online about that, and apparently the Danish manager is not a fan of Scottish football, and that's where that comes from. That he just doesn't think that Matt Riley's numbers and his performances this year are coming for a good enough level, which is crazy to me, because I off the top of my head, I'm not an expert in the Danish international team, but I can't think of much more number 10s that they've got in their midst that are hitting numbers like this. And Matt Riley was probably Celtic's best player in the Champions League games. He was the only shining light in their disastrous campaign. He looked at home there, and like I said, if he went to Atletico Madrid, I genuinely do think he would have fitted in somewhere, and he wouldn't have looked at a place. He's a tremendous footballer. And I think that is probably more down to snobbery towards our league rather than Matt Riley's ability, because, again, is there 3 clear outstanding number 10s better than Matt Riley for Denmark? Don't think so.
No, listen, I agree with you, and I think I mean, you know, I had a chat earlier with Martin and the guys as well when we were doing the members show, and I think, you know, there's part of me that wonders if obviously Christian Eriksen's been called up to the squad and whether or not there's been a conflict there and they've decided to pick Eriksen over O'Reilly, which I can get because obviously he had the heart attack at the last Euros, so it'd be a nice way to get him back in the fold again. But Robert, last but by no means least, your pick for the best midfielder.
Well, listen, again, I didn't want to go obvious, because I knew somebody would pick O'Reilly, and just on that, what Lewis is saying that he won't be at Celtic next season. There's no way he can be, because he can't do any better than he's just done. How does a midfielder score nearly 20 goals make that any better next year? They need to sell him at his peak, which they always do with other players, and he'll go to somewhere like the Bundesliga or something and some loads of money.
Do you know what the craziest part is? You know, you've just said that, and you probably are right, but see, Mesty has numbers. They were the first half of the season. He was actually he wasn't great the second half of the campaign.
No,
it's crazy to think.
He got better when Hatate came back in. Hatate seemed to him, McGregor and Hatate seemed to free him up and he could go forward again. But he did, as you say, whether it was the fact that Hatate was at the team or the fact that he got linked with a move away, something happened and he did fall off a wee bit. So you're absolutely right. He's not. I don't know how he can make that any better. But anyway, I've went for Lyle Cameron, a guy that really caught my eye, young player, 21-year-old, and I think again he's, you know, Connor, you don't like us picking young players, you're going to hammer me about consistency in a minute. So, but no, I just think he's one that will go on as well. Maybe not get a move this summer, but certainly he'll play more games than he's played this season next year, and he'll be a real linchpin for Tony Docherty again next season. I just think that midfielder theirs has been really good. Sorry, and you know they'll lose Boateng. Obviously, I think he goes back and on loan, doesn't he? He was a loan player, so it'll be interesting to see what they do in there. But you know, him and McCowan have just been young Scottish players. This is what this show's all about. We should be bigging them up. So he was certainly something that caught my eye, particularly laterally at the back end of the season. I thought he came into a game more so there. And at 21-year-old, yeah, I think there's just loads of potential there.
Yeah. Just before I come back at you, Scott Howden, I will give you the benefit of the doubt in that perhaps this is the first time you have watched this show. It is not the Celtic Appreciation Show. It is the Scottish Football.
You just missed us all singing like the people sing, eh?
Yeah, I mean, look, exactly. You really did. You know, the new intro as well. You missed that. You'll never walk alone. You know, listen, it's the Scottish Football Show, mate. We cover and talk about the whole of Scottish football here, and I think it'd be incredibly disingenuous for us to come onto a Scottish Football Show awards show and just nominate Rangers players, because the reality is that wouldn't be a fair reflection of the season. So we're just trying to keep it balanced, and as you've heard there, that there is a mix. Obviously, you've come in as we're talking about O'Reilly, but prior to that, Kerr was bigging up Lennon Miller at Motherwell, and you've just heard Robert there about Lyle Cameron. So there are other players we're picking from, and there is a poll in the chat as well for the Player of the Year, and you can see there is no just fellow Celtic players. I hope that clarifies it for you. Anyway, Robert, on the point of Lyle Cameron, I will come back at you. I don't have a problem with younger players, by the way. You're good enough, you're old enough. I think, you know, it is about, for me anyway, just the amount of appearances he's made throughout the season in terms of starts. You know, that's where I maybe, because I look at like Lennon Miller, Matt O'Reilly, they've definitely started more games, I think, than Lyle Cameron has. So is that perhaps a valid pushback there?
As I say, laterally in the season, I think it came on to become trusted more, I would say, by Tony Docherty. She's playing under the right kind of manager. So you've probably got a valid point there. I think if you're holding anyone up to Matt O'Reilly, then they're going to be blown out the water straight away. So it could be said, the same could be said with David Watson. You know, we all spoke about him in the first half of the season, but he was kind of used as a sub, maybe second half of the campaign as well. So as you say, it is difficult. It's bringing them in when time's right. But I thought with Cameron, he finished the season really well. And I think, as I say, he'll be one that will push on again next year.
Yeah, no, 100%, totally agree. And again, some solid picks. I will just say, by the way, before make my choice for this. The poll is incredibly tight right now. Well, we're sitting at 47% for Matt O'Reilly and 48%.
Who was the other pick that you put in? Sorry, I don't know who the fourth guy was.
So the 4 picks are Luke McCowan, Lauren Shanklin, Matt O'Reilly, and Danny Armstrong. Now, Luke McCowan and Danny Armstrong aren't carrying much traction at this point. Only 2% for Armstrong, 4% for McCowan. But as I say, 47 and 48% respectively for Shanklin and O'Reilly. So that is incredibly tight.
Who's winning it? Sorry, I missed that. Forgive me.
Currently, Lauren Shanklin is just edging it. But we'll see by the end of the show if that is remaining the same. It's very tight though, and I think that poll and the fact that I think that pretty much justifies that Matt O'Reilly, I think, will be, for me, the midfielder.
I'd hate to be in Scott Howden's house tonight if Matt O'Reilly wins the poll. Honestly,
listen, you never know. I mean, listen. Ian, to his credit, he obviously agrees with you, Robert, because he's through him Luke McCowan, and obviously I know you are bigging him for the player, so fair enough to big Ian with that one. But no, it is Matt O'Reilly. I think you just have to look at the course throughout the course of the season and say, he's been the one. Wolf, yeah, Matt Kennedy's not a bad shot. He's had a solid season this year under Dent McInnes at Kelly, although I think if I was to go for a Kelly player, it would have probably been Danny Armstrong personally.
Blair Spittle, by the way, deserves a mention here.
Yes, 100% he does.
I'm glad you said that. I thought people would be getting sick of my voice if I shouted up another one, but definitely Blair Spittle. The fact he's got that move to Hearts as well, it just shows you how good a year he's had, and it's an award for a really, really good career actually.
Yeah.
I think. Spittle.
Listen, you see in our intro, one of the goals of the season for Blair Spittle, without doubt. So yeah, absolutely. Both obviously benched. I knew I'd seen that and meant to go back to it. So well remembered, lads. Righty ho. Okay. So we're on to our last area on the park to pick from. Now, this one I am incredibly interested to hear who the picks are going to be. It is the best striker of the season. Lewis, we'll start with your good self. Best striker?
Well, as you know, I'm hampered big time, considering I've picked Mr. Lawrence Shanklin for player of the year. But listen, the guy I'm going to put forward, I mean, what a remontada he's had this year, and it's Mr. Steele Bear. I mean, this guy in his debut season for St Johnstone in the SPL, 2 goals and assists in 27 games. That's what he had last season in his first year in Scotland. And he's now just hit 21 and 38 for Motherwell, which is just it's incredible. And it carried out throughout the season. It wasn't just a purple patch. He's been pretty good throughout. He's finishing he looks like a different player when it comes to his finishing. He looks very, very composed in front of goal. And we knew what he offered in terms of physicality to begin with. He's absolutely ginormous. He's fast. He's got good feet. And he's gave a torrid time to some of the best defenders in this league. I mean, he might have just ended Connor Goldson's career, because Connor Goldson looked like a wee boy up against Steele Bear. And he's done that to near enough every defender in the league. And like I said, just for the fact that how he's managed to turn his career around. And can you only imagine, he's only 24, by the way. So if he goes to a better club, his numbers could just go through the roof. And like I said, you've got a really good catalyst there for a really top level striker if you can work on his game, because physically he's got absolutely everything, and he's just shown that he can score at this level. So I'll go for Theo Bear.
Well, Robert, it was certainly a spirited case that Lewis has made for Theo Bear. I mean, it could be academic come the end of it, but Robert,
you don't even in your heart of hearts do you believe that?
I'm trying to keep the suspense up, all right. Robert, your best striker of the. I think we know you've got a poster of him in your room, so.
No, well, listen, I've gone for Bruce Anderson. No, I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. I've gone for Lawrence Shanklin. Listen, again, there's not really much I can add because we've spoken at this guy week in, week out. Lyndon Dykes' loss might actually be Lawrence Shanklin's gain here because Scotland are now going to be looking for a striker to come in next couple of days. That guy's not going to be coming in to start, so you've then got Shea Adams ahead of you, who may start against Germany, but then it's up to Lawrence to come in and grab his spot, and I do think he's capable of doing that. So it's a really big summer for him because in his last 12 months at his club as well, so there could be a lot of interest in him. Come pre-season, whether depending on how he does in Germany, could be bigger moves on the table than what was mooted back in January. So it's Lawrence Shanklin every day of the week. He's complete player now. He's a leader as well, which I think is really, really important. When Craig Gordon got injured and handed him the armband, I think he saw a real maturity for Lawrence. So it's Lawrence Shanklin every day of the week and twice on a Sunday.
I mean, hard to argue with that. Kerr, are you going to go rogue and throw us a spanner in the works, or are you sticking with Mr. Shanklin?
I have to go with Shanklin, I'm afraid. I just think he's overall a far better player than he was a few years ago, and I think we were probably a lot of Shanklin away from winning the league. To be honest with you, I think if he'd won in January, they'd been a lot closer to winning that league title than they were. So, and the goals he scored with Hearts and the way he leads the team, and he's a class act on and off the park. I remember coming through at Queen's Park at the time, and as a young guy, and he was a big move to Aberdeen, and probably just too early for him. But he's done everything, and he always comes back when people write him off. He comes back again, even stronger after he went to Poland, and then he come back. And I just think the guy's a class act, and I think Hearts will be lucky to hold on to him. Hopefully, I hope he ends up at us, but I don't think he will. I think his next move may be down somewhere in England. I think he deserves one more move to a bigger league to prove that he's got. I think as his overall game's improved, but his finishing's superb. He's not just a typical box striker. He can score goals anywhere. And I think in the summer he has to start for Scotland. I think if Stevie Clark wants to progress, he has to start somebody who can take a chance. Because I think Scotland will make any chances. So when they do need somebody to put the ball in the net, and I think that's Lawrence Shanklin.
Well, I think I could try and build up the suspense here, but I think it's pretty academic. Ian also went for Lawrence Shanklin, and I think, truthfully, whilst it was a spirited and very good shout for Theo Bear, I think Lewis, in his heart of hearts, if he could have done, would have also picked Lawrence Shanklin. So, yes, the striker of the season is officially Mr. 30-goal Lawrence Shanklin himself. Although some people, I think Paul McGorrickle here, I'm not sure if he's serious with that one, but Big Cyril. I mean, listen, you could have made a case. 23 goals is nothing to be sniffed at. Certainly scored more than Kyogo or Adamida did this season. So you could certainly, I think, if you were being generous, make an argument. However, I still don't believe for a second that he wins that argument over Lawrence Shanklin. I mean, there's a reason that we want to sign him, and we've already got Dessers, but yes. Right, moving on then. Just a couple of categories left to go. In fact, just the 3 left for us, and then we will endeavour to try and do some sort of team of the year before we reveal the results of the poll. So moving quickly on, Robert, we turn our attention to the biggest overachievers of this season. Who have you got and why?
Well, it's Dundee, isn't it? Obviously promoted, change of manager in the off season, and I don't know if that's to the club or to me, but we'll take it either way. And the recruitment was spot on. Manager seems to have got everything right more often than not. Play a decent style of football as well, and as I say, it's got some young players in there as well. So interesting to see how he betters that next season, Tony Docherty, and what he can bring in. Because again, a lot of loans that have left the club, so a bit of a sea change. Whether he's he's going to be the manager or not, and his name gets thrown in this vacant Hibs job. So, but for me, I think it's really, really obvious that Dundee, coming up for the Championship to get a top 6 spots, it's a great achievement. And one that no one would have picked at the start of the season. I don't think anybody had them in the top 6. I don't even think if the manager wrote down the final position in an envelope and put it in a drawer and pulled it out, honestly would have had them in the top 6. I think, anything above 10th would have been a really, really good achievement for them. So,
were they though slightly disappointing after they solidified the top 6 finish? Because, and we had this conversation a few weeks ago on the show, we're reviewing I think was it the penultimate week or the week before it when they played St Mirren. The St Mirren were only a couple of points in front of them, so they could have caught them, which, European football was still a possibility for Dundee, but they seemed to down tools once they'd solidified 6. So were you disappointed that they didn't make a bit more of a fist at it to try and catch St Mirren? Because it was certainly, okay, Kilmarnock and Hearts were in the distance, but St Mirren were catchable, which, as I say, a European's position for them would have been incredible.
It's obviously a mentality thing, when the talk's been top 6, and they finally get it over the line, then maybe the pressure's off a wee bit, and it's a common theme. I think the same happened year before with St Mirren. I think the same happened with Livy when they get in the top 6 as well. It's as you say, symptomatic of that whole talk about getting into the top 6 and then you finally achieve it. So I don't think you can level them with being on their holidays or down in tools as such, but certainly. Maybe they should have made a bit better of a fist bit against St Mirren. But both clubs have done really well. I think St Mirren are probably hard done by here. I'm hoping somebody talks them up, but certainly I just think Dundee coming up for the Championship for the first season, getting top 6 is really, really good. A club who sat in the grounds and a flag game called out, they should have had a 10-point deduction. Listen, I'm not for the SFA. I'm merely a wee guy in a podcast, so that's not bigger fish to fry. But the pitch stuff, I don't think that's not fair on the players and the manager. They don't have any control over the pitch. That's the club, and the club should be fined and dealt with retrospectively. But as for the players and the manager, that's a really good achievement. They should be proud of themselves.
I mean, yeah, I do think they obviously did surpass expectations. Certainly, I must admit, and I hold my hands up, I did say at the very start of the season, and I was not the only one, that I felt Dundee would go straight back down, because it's a cycle they've been in for many, many years, Dundee, where they've been up and then back down and then up and then back. That's the kind of club. They're a yo-yo club. So the fact they've actually gone and solidified their position and got that top 6, fair play. Kerr, your pick for the biggest overachievers.
It was a hard one because I think St Mirren should deserve a shout, but I'm going to Kilmarnock. So on their second season back in the top flight, and Derek's getting into Europe. They've not got a bigger budget as Dundee, by the way. So just like they say that, Robert. But Kilmarnock's got a smaller budget than Dundee have. I think what Derek McInnes has done there is superb. I think what he's done is really. I think they play the same way. I don't mean they play the same way, but it doesn't matter who they're playing. They want to win. They showed that against us. They showed that against Celtic. They showed that against other teams. And I think they all hold their own in the league. And getting into Europe was a fantastic achievement for Kilmarnock. So I think what Derek McInnes has done there, the players have done there, I think he's been amazing this season. So I think they've been probably overachieving. I'm not expecting to get into Europe this season.
Listen, again, another solid shout, and I think rightly so. Derek McInnes did get the SPFL Manager of the Season. I think rightly so for the achievements he had at Kilmarnock. You can't deny they've had a great season. Although my job is to try and provide some pushback, and I guess the only one I can think of is, were they disappointing in the cup competitions? Because as good as they were in the league, it felt to me that they get that moment where they put Celtic out in the League Cup. Fair enough. But, they didn't even manage to get themselves into the final. They were out of that one. And then, more disappointingly, I think, was the fact that in the Scottish Cup, they went to Aberdeen, who were in a 7-8 game losing streak. For all money, if there was going to be a time Derek McInnes was going to go back to Pittodrie and take the scalp, his old club, it should have been there, and they were just really poor on that day. So maybe the cup runs could have been a little bit more fruitful for them.
Probably could have been, but I think consistency over the season, they've been really good in the league, and I think McInnes is probably happy to be finishing where he has, getting to Europe, and the players have done really well. I think a cup's great. Even anybody can get the cup final, as it's been proven in the past. So I think he'll be happy with this league. I'd be disappointed with the cups, but I think he's more than happy finishing where he has finished in the league and getting to Europe, because the fans will be more happy with that.
Robert getting a bit of a battering here for Dundee for some reason.
I don't have that threat there.
Right, Lewis. Give yourself to give us your pick then. Who are your overachievers for the season?
Listen, I won't take up too much more time. I don't want to get an email, threatening email either, but I've actually went for Dundee as well. Listen, I think Kilmarnock's probably the right answer, to be honest with you. You know, considering they kind of stumbled their way to, you know, getting back up in the league, and you would never have thought that they would have finished, you know, fourth position in their first season back up. But I've kind of saved Kilmarnock for another category that we have left, so I did go for Dundee. And listen, you, Robert, and yourself said that. I think a lot of people had Dundee finishing 12th or 11th, so for them to come in and finish in 6th place is incredible. And I think a lot of credit to Tony Docherty, you know, coming from where he's came from, and he's very premature in his managerial career, and to come in and have that season, I think is really impressive. And it's some of the developmental seasons you've had, the likes of Luke McCowan and, you know, Boateng and Lyle Cameron have been really, really impressive. So I went for Dundee.
Yeah, no, hard to deny that. Paul, that's a great point, although I would have put that in the underachiever category personally. I think, if we're honest, it probably has underperformed once again this season, but we've had many a conversation about that over the course of the season. I'm sure we will again. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unanimous. Ian also went for Dundee. Do you know, it is a difficult one, because I do feel as if Kilmarnock, for your second year back in the top flight, especially when they were, you know, they were really flirting with relegation again last season, to have pulled it back the way they have and get fourth in the league and a real crack at getting into some European group stage football next season, I think is highly impressive from them, 100%. But the majority have said Dundee. I think for them to come up and actually stay up is an achievement in itself, to get top six. Yeah, I think that Dundee are the overachievers for me of the season to do that. Certainly not their pitch. That's not overachieved at all. But as a club, as players, as managing staff, absolutely. Because especially, I think you've got to take into consideration a rookie manager in Tony Docherty. You know, an experienced assistant, but his first real gig as the main man, and he's done a terrific job. So yeah, I think Dundee it is. Right, we have 2 categories remaining, and for the next one, we're going to go for the game of the season. Now, there's been a few talkers over the course of this campaign. Care, your game of the season?
Kilmarnock 5, St Mirren 2. St Mirren 2-0 up at half time. Kilmarnock coming back 1-5-2. I think that was a really good game to watch, and St Mirren getting up 2-0. We had done in Mandarin, and then Kilmarnock coming back in the second half, scoring 5. And in the first half, St Mirren could have scored more than 2, but they never scored 2. They probably thought this game's now under control. The worst we'll get is a draw here, but 5 goals in the second half from anybody's, especially reaching hours, really good level of football. So I'm glad that's a game I enjoyed watching. So I'm going for that one.
I mean, it's a great shout, I must say. Plenty of goals, and from a neutral point of view, I think it was genuinely a great game to watch on Sportscene. One of those ones you could watch that back just for the enjoyment of it. Obviously, maybe not so much if you're a St Mirren fan, if there's any name in the chat. But no, I think that's a great shout. Lewis, your pick for the game of the season?
Well, I've fumbled a wee bit because I have not read the chat properly, obviously, because I did not even realise we were to pick this. But
Dear.
you know, off the top of my head, I'll try and take my blue tinted spectacles off for this and think from a neutral point of view. But the 3-3 at Ibrox in the Old Firm, you know, it's a very rare scoreline. Certainly in recent years, and again, from a neutral point of view, that's really good view, and it's a lot of drama. You know, 2 goals, was it 3 goals, 2 goals? The dying minutes of the game, the Rabbi Matondo's goal. I mean, even though it was a draw, I've never celebrated a goal like that in my life. It was just absolutely an anywhere. And as far as drama goes and a bit of a spectacle, I think you can't really look past the 3-3 at Ibrox.
It's a great shout, Robert. Can you top it?
Listen, I've gone for Hearts 3, Dundee 2 twice in the space of 10 days. You had the 3-2 at Tynecastle, I think, then they went up and played the reverse fixture up at Dens, and it was 3-2 there as well. I think Dundee 2-0 up at Tynecastle, lost the game 3-2, 2-1 up at Dens, lost the game 3-2. Late goals for Yoda in Shanklin in both the fixtures to win it for Hearts. So there seemed to be a bit of a common theme. I'm sure Dundee lost another game. I think Ian pitched for a Motherwell similar position as well. So they seem to have real form for that. So these games are the ones, as you say, as a neutral that you want to see. You know, last minute winners. And I also, another one that I wanted to mention, it wasn't like a spectacular game, but it was the Hibs Hearts game at Easter Road where Shanklin gets the winner late on. And I just felt it was at a time where a lot of the conversations were about away fans not being allowed in to the Old Firm games, and then this fixture came on, and it was a great atmosphere and a great spectacle for Scottish football. So I thought that was worth a mention as well.
Especially getting earpods for it, I mean, everybody else, corkscrews and all
that. that was that night when it pies and all. Was that night or was that at Tynecastle? Was that night?
I think when it's a penalty, he scored that.
The penalty. No. The Easter Road, he scores that's like out the box, wasn't it? Outside of the book kind of thing.
That was
the one I was on about. The throwing the pies and stuff was great. That was all good fun.
I mean, listen, you know, a brave man to take a bite of a pie that's been thrown at you for a stand. That's for sure.
I know.
We don't know where that was, but listen, they're all solid shouts. They really are. Ian obviously has come in with a Motherwell and Dundee 3-3 game, which I believe took place in early December at Fir Park. What a game that was, you know, just to briefly break it down, as Ian has kindly done for us. You know, Motherwell got an early lead, Dundee turned it around, 2 goals in 4 minutes, 2-1 to Dundee. Motherwell equalised, but then Harry Payton gets sent off with about 18 minutes to go, I think. Dundee go in front, and with 2 minutes left to play a normal time, thinking they've won it, and then Motherwell do what Motherwell seem to do a few times this season, rock up out of nowhere with a late goal to rescue a 3-3 draw. And I think it's the drama involved in that game, the non-stop nature of it. Like, every time you thought somebody had control of the game and had it won, it seemed to just constantly change. And I really do think it's a great shout. But even taking my blue tinted specs off, I do think that the 3-3 at Ibrox, I think, does just edge it, because for me, you know, that had a bit of everything in it as well. You know, 2-0 down at half time, you get a penalty, which was a Stonewall penalty. You know, goal disallowed 2 minutes after they scored the penalty, and you're thinking, this is unbelievable. We're equalising double quick time, and it just had a lot in it. And I felt, for me, it certainly was the best all-round Old Firm derby of the season. I think for neutrals, that was the game that was just a great game to watch, and just a fantastic advert for Scottish football. So for me, the game of the season is Rangers 3, Celtic 3 from March at Ibrox. And as Wolf says, I truly classic Old Firm game. That, listen, yeah, it will certainly go down.
Just like Conan again.
He's froze again. I think it's what he was going to say is like, you know, as you said, Lewis, for guys, maybe your generation who, you know, grew up watching not many classic Old Firm games. That's certainly one that's, as you say, you celebrated the goal like no other, you know, Matondo and stuff. So I think it's great for younger guys, especially, guys that are still at school and stuff. They'd have been buzzing getting into school on the Monday to see their pals and maybe support Celtic and stuff. So it's definitely great. Just disappointing that was the only highlight for the Old Firms this year, that we managed to get a point. It would have been nice to actually beat them and give them something to think about, but that's something that we're going to need to manage next year, or else it's going to be somebody else in the hot seat come January, because I don't, if you can't beat Celtic, you're no good to us.
No.
Yes, all the way through. My apologies, I am back. We've got 50p back in the meter. Let's hope it stays running this time. Right, final category before we do the quick fire team of the year and then the results of the poll, and then we can all go to our beds. Is manager of the season. Robert, your manager of the season.
I think this is easiest one of the categories. Derek McInnes. We've already spoke about the job he's done. I think his recruitment's great. You look at his teams; they've got an identity. They play a certain way. He seems to get the best out of every man that he brings in. Somebody like Marley Watkins, you would never have thought he'd be as effective as he has been. I think Vassell's a great player for that club. Then you've got the likes of Kennedy and Armstrong as well, providing a bit of pace and trickery in the wide area. So I think he's spot on. Again, he's signed a new contract with Kilmarnock, so it means he's safe for us to come and get in January if need be. He's not going to go to Hibs. So it's Derek McInnes all day long, and I really hope he can get them into the group stages of Europe, because it would be great for Scottish football if we've got teams playing regularly. But what's the stipulations on plastic parks in the big competitions? Are they allowed?
Kilmarnock are getting grass anyway. We've got plans
this season.
No,
I thought it was for 25. Is it for 25?
It's for the 25-26 season. So this will be the last season in plastic, and then
can you play in you can play in Europe in plastic? No problem.
Yeah. No, you can. But I think it's only qualifiers that allow you to do it, because you've seen like Jablonec, for example, the Czech team that Celtic played, they played in a plastic pitch in the qualifying campaign. But I think if you qualify proper, I think you do need grass for the main group stages of it. But I don't quote me on that right enough. Care, manager of the season, are you along the same lines as Robert?
Yeah, Derek, all day long.
I mean, there you go.
No explanation needed.
Derek McInnes, because it just is Derek McInnes. Lewis, are you going to throw us a curveball here, or is it a unanimous clean sweep?
Nah, it's a clean sweep. Listen, Derek McInnes, fantastic manager. I know a lot of your fan base are butthurt because he rejected us in the past, but I certainly would not be turning my nose up to Derek McInnes if things go awry before Clermont. Like Robert said, if he came in January, at the very least, he would have a really good identity in the Scottish game. And it's like, you never give these managers a chance at a top level. How are you ever going to know what their ceiling is? And he's never been given that chance at a club like Rangers. So, obviously I want Clermont to succeed, but I wouldn't be totally obliged if Derek McInnes became the Rangers manager at some point, because I think he's a fantastic manager.
He's showing as well, was he can beat Celtic. He's done it. Mm-hmm. So I just think that's something as well you should be pulling on. Listen, as you say, we all want Clermont to do well. He's going to get a transfer window here, so it's going to be a lot of change in terms of recruitment and players coming in. So we want him to do well, but I kind of felt back end of the season, Clermont was under pressure, and I don't know if he handled it very well. Some of the stuff he said in press conferences was strange but odd. I definitely, you spoke about the Benfica game and things going west for there. I think something's happened in that dressing room. I'll never be able to prove it. Nobody will ever come out and say it. There'll be a book probably in 20 years' time, Tavernier or Goldson's memoirs, and we'll get to read it in them. But certainly think something's happened, and the wheels have fell off dramatically. Players coming out and talking about there's no belief in the team. Absolutely crazy. So Derek McInnes, when they let that happen, I think he looked great in the brown brogues and the suit and all that, wouldn't he? So anyway.
You know, it's the thing as well. Like, see the when that Aberdeen side under Derek McInnes was at their peak, they played some really really nice football. They played some football that was outside of their capabilities, to be honest with you. And like I said, he's never really been given an opportunity with this caliber of player. And it's for once we might have a manager that comes in and just ignores the snobbery towards our game. I mean, if Derek McInnes was our manager instead of Michael Beale, Lewis Ferguson would be starting in the midfield, for example. These players wouldn't be slitting under our fingers. So that's at least one positive. But listen, this is all if things come to fruition. So we don't know what's going to happen, but it's Derek McInnes.
Yeah, no arguments here. Ian also went Derek McInnes. Personally, it would be my pick as well. I think, excuse me, for all the reasons that have been highlighted, he's had a tremendous season as Derek McInnes, and he's had results against everybody, I think, apart from Dundee, he's drawn every game with. I think the first three were 2-2, so at one point I had christened it the Desmond Derby, but unfortunately they broke that trend in the last day of the season. But nevertheless, that is the categories done with. Obviously, player of the season, the poll being chosen by yourselves, which is still tight. What we are going to do, and we'll try and be as quick as we can about this, and we'll just whistle stop our way around to concoct a team of the year between us. Nothing fancy. It'll just be bog standard 4-4-2. So we'll have 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 strikers, if that's okay, because I can't be bothered trying to do weird formations. And we will start off with the goalkeeper, Kerr. Jack Butland for the goalkeeper. And Lewis, you can have the left back.
Owen Beck.
Oh, Robert's loving that.
This is really hard.
Robert, the first
D squad, Robert. Isn't that the D squad again?
What did you say, sorry?
Centre back for you, Robert.
Oh, centre back. We'll take Lewis Mayo.
Lewis Mayo. Oh, there we go. Kerr, you get the second centre back.
Gogic.
Good shout. And to be fair, after your earlier nomination, I would have been disappointed if you had said somebody else. Questions would have had to have been asked. And Lewis, you get the right back.
James Tavernier.
James Tavernier. Perfect. Amundo. Right. Roberta, left midfielder, if you would please.
Left mid. Oh, it's really hard, man. It's really hard. I'll put Armstrong on the left. Sorry, Lewis.
Armstrong is on the left. Kerr, central midfielder from yourself.
Lennon Miller.
Again, yeah, absolutely. Lewis, you get the next central midfielder.
I'll have to go Matt Riley.
Yep, fair shout. Robert, you get the right mid.
Listen, I'll just take Armstrong's pal. We'll put Kennedy. We can have them interchanging. So we'll have my Kennedy on the right. Who are you sending this to? John Nelms?
John Nelms, aye. Yep, he's getting a strongly worded one for us. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You used to get the cherries on top here. Look at this. That's how he's getting like a Cheshire Cat up there.
Two strikers.
You just need 2 strikers.
Yes, but I have missed somebody.
So it was Butland. And it was
no, sorry, I've got it. I know what I've done. It's fine. Carry on. Yeah, so the strikers, Kerr, Miovski. Absolutely superb. And I think we know, Lewis, who the last one is going to be. But
Theo Bear! Theo Bear!
Bruce and no,
Shankland, it is indeed. Right. Well, there we go. That was a nice, quick whistle-stop tour. And if you give me a second, I'll get the team scrolling across the bottom bar just for everybody to see.
Connor, you should get the final pick. Who's the gaffer of this team?
Who's the gaffer? Well, Derek McInnes.
Derek McInnes.
Do excuse me, I am just okay then. So all that remains left for us to do is to reveal the results of the player of the season and the picks from the viewers, which I can reveal. Momentarily. Right, there we go. There we are. There's your team of the year, ladies and gents. Okay, so the results from our poll for the team of the player of the year, rather, because the team of the year is already up. Catch up, Connor. So, in fourth, with a measly 2% of the vote, is Danny Armstrong. So, not to be for him this season, but a worthy candidate nevertheless. Sitting pretty in third with a whopping 4%. Luke McCowan. And now the difference between these two, the gap has widened since 20 minutes ago when we were last speaking about it. A 6-point gap has opened up, and I can reveal that Lawrence Shankland has taken it for the player of the year, as voted for by the viewers of the Scottish Football Show, on 50% of the vote. Matt O'Reilly, a very near second, on 44% of the vote. At one point, when I did look up, Matt O'Reilly was actually leading it just, marginally at one point. So, a tight one there. Any arguments for yourselves there? Have the viewers got it right?
I think in the safety of Scott Howden's neighbours, I'm glad Lawrence Shankland won.
Well, that is that. So all that really remains for me to do is thank everybody who has been watching us all throughout this season in the Scottish Football Show. It's fair to say, I think, Robert, for the beginning when you were driving the machine and sitting in the hot seat, we've grown it quite well, and grown ourselves a decent community here. I think, people seem to be enjoying it, and it's all about us bigging up Scottish football as well, which I think is important, because we can be quite down on it sometimes, and sometimes it deserves it, but, there's a lot to love about our game, and I think we've covered that with aplomb throughout this season, if I do say so myself, and absolutely, if you could hit that like button and drop us a wee subscribe, that'd be fantastic. You can also become a member of the Rangers Rabble for just £1.99 per month, less than a cup of coffee, and you will get access to our members' content. We will be back with the Scottish Football Show in August when the new season starts. In terms of the Rabble podcast will be back on Thursday for the regularly scheduled members show at 7:30. Barring any breaking news, it will be your normal members show. Then all that remains for me to do is to thank my panel, Stella, for you this evening, lads, and it's been a pleasure throughout the season. And yeah, we will catch you in season 2024-2025.
Podcast Network.
The following is a high five moment from highfivecasino.com.
I won! Yahoo! Private, put down your phone. This is the Army.
Sarge, High Five Casino is a social casino. It's on your phone, goes wherever you go. I win free spins, cash, prizes, free daily rewards, over 1,200 games. I won again.
Platoon, present cell phone. High Five.
High Five.
Casino.
Casino.
Win at highfivecasino.com.
High Five Casino is a social casino. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Play responsibly. Conditions apply. See website for details.
High Five Casino.